fancy a ride, milady?
Why? Are you offering one?
I could take you someplace most interesting. The rub, of course, is that obstacle standing squarely on our path. See?
I doubt I would be able to push it aside.
A shame you don't have a giant hand. Ah, the wild and crazy things one could do with a giant hand. The rub, of course.
Oh, Miriam. Oh, you really know when to come through to me. Oh, man. Japanese sir do know what us men like. Hey guys, how you doing? Hoo boy, it's finally here, guys. The Metroidvania game we've been waiting years for. Like 3 long ones. Anyway, I'm here to tell you all that the wait was well worth it. What's so amazing about this game? What are some things that should have been done better? Let's begin with the basic gist of it for those who are unfortunately unfamiliar with these types of games. Ritual of the Night is an open-world 2.5D action RPG, but it features all the things that Igavania fans know and love. A huge interconnected map system with diverse locations in and around a castle sprawling with a great variety of monsters, bosses, and abilities that you obtain throughout the story to help you progress through different areas that were originally blocked off, all while helping yourself to save rooms and fast travel ports. Note to self, life is not always a bitch. The story of this game is surprisingly pretty thought-provoking, with occasional plot turns as well as multiple different endings. You play as an orphan named Miriam, who was a subject of an alchemist experiment involving different powers known as shards, and you venture on a quest to stop Jeeble, another experimental subject who took his powers too far and became consumed by them, summoning all sorts of chaotic fuckery. All of this came from him, by the way. Only him. No one else. Just him. I mean, it's not like an evil demon is controlling him. Right? So is it oftentimes predictable? Of course. Especially for those who have played its spiritual predecessor. This game is more or less an homage to Symphony of the Night. Overall, the way the story itself was told was great for a Kickstarter game. I thought the voice acting was also good across the entire cast, and most of the characters you meet are pretty interesting. Let's move on to the gameplay, the deep, juicy thing that makes everyone really enjoy and love it.
Wow, that didn't come out right.
The NPCs. You have Dominique, the shopkeeper, the girl you can buy and sell from. You have Johannes. He's the guy you look for when you want something crafted by using materials you gathered in the world. But he can also cook. Whatever ingredients and recipe books you find, he can turn into food. And believe me, you're going to want to stock up for the later bosses, since for some reason the game only lets you carry a very limited number of potions. We also have a farmer who can plant whatever seeds you give him and have him grow them into ripe, fresh ingredients, hopefully ready by the time I get back. Harry. One fucking job to do, I swear to God. And that's not all that's here in the game's safe hub. There are also NPCs that give you side quests. Most of these may look and feel repetitive, and they kind of are, but most of them just involve you killing a certain number of specific enemies or basic delivery of certain items. They're not things that you need to grind tremendously for, and you'll more than likely finish most of them without even trying. They could have done a better job, giving more variety with these, but thankfully they never really feel forced upon you. Let's move on to these shards. Shards are the powers that you obtain either through basic story progression or by obtaining them randomly upon killing different enemies. There are 4 different kinds. Conjurer, which are mostly just different attacks. Manipulative, where you can control various things such as the environment or even your stats. Directional, where you can aim or hand and do different things like throw fireballs or even be able to teleport way later on. Then passive, which is a stat that is always active without the use of magic, like increased defense or attacks with certain weapon types. You can also enhance these shards by making them more powerful and effective by visiting Johannes with the required materials. But that's not even all. There are also familiars that you get to help you out in battle, and are always summoned when equipped no matter where you go. All of these things are very useful to the point where I felt like my survival and my strategy really depended on all of them. The story-related ones really show off how impressive the level design is, oftentimes making you use what you know of these abilities to gain entry to newer areas by solving puzzles, and even finding hidden parts of the game. Like, dudes, there's even a hidden 8-bit retro Easter egg level. I'm not telling you where it is. You'll just have to get smart and use your powers to figure it out. Or you could just look it up online. Which is totally not how I found it. With all these things coming together, shops, crafting, cooking, farming, side quests, skills, upgrading, awesome abilities, awesome levels. I mean, for fuck's sake, you even find a friendly barber demon who can give you haircuts and change the color of your clothes.
The look suits you fine.
Will this game get a perfect score from me, though? A flawless 10? Will it? Almost. But no, it won't. First off, I love this game, okay? Don't get me wrong, I love it. But the game does have a couple of technical issues, especially the frame rate. Sometimes it will freeze for up to a few seconds the moment you kill something. And I've also read that the game is basically unplayable if you don't update it prior to starting it, because some progression required items apparently never spawn, and might even probably be broken pre-patch period. I don't want to try it, and I don't want to experiment with it, but I mean, it's not that any of this is really a big deal to those with internet who weren't affected by it, but it's definitely still worth noting. Moving on to the more nitpicking complaints I have with it, not a big deal, but something that bothered me a little bit, is that when you level up, your health and magic stats don't refill. I understand that you do find items to max these out, but they're not common and they don't respawn. I just find it annoying to have to go back to a save spot or go to one through a fast travel point just to get health back while trying to conserve healing items for a boss. Which, by the way, there were also quite a few noticeable difficulty spikes when it came to both bosses and certain late game areas in general. Now, it's expected for all video games to get a little harder and harder the more you progress. It's always been that way, but difficulty spikes have never been and never will be a good thing in video games, especially in great games like this one. So my final score for Bloodstained, you already know this, is a very high 9 out of 10. And believe me, I actually was thinking about a 10 throughout most of my 20-plus hour long playthrough with it. It may not be as phenomenal as, say, Super Metroid or Symphony of the Night. I feel those two will always be measured the highest, but Bloodstained might very well be the best Metroidvania since that. It'll be very hard to find a $40 game with this much content, not including New Game Plus, that's better than this game. This is probably the best game of the year that's under $40, and it's definitely one of the best games of the year, period. And who knows, if this improves with future updates, free updates, no DLC bullshit, I know they are planning, but still, this could end up being the best Metroidvania ever.